are Team Heatwave.
Our film tells the story of a vampire who struggled to sleep during the worst heatwave in the history of mankind. Having failed miserably to cool down, he decides to flee to the moon. We wanted to create a unique vampire, different from the usual tall and thin vampires we often see in pop culture. I was inspired by different characters such as the Dude from Big Lebowski or Homer Simpson. The main challenge was to keep the 2D design in the 3D sculpt. Theodore's body is made of sharp body parts. His nose and ear resemble those of a dangerous vampire. This creates a contrast with the roundness of his body. I mainly used its 2D design as a foundation and kept his unique silhouette in a 3D sculpt. I also created blend shape by exaggerating this trait to help with the rigging part. For the second character, we wanted a sidekick for Theodore. The idea was to make a cute character, so I sculpted a round fish with big eyes. I made both the iris face different directions to emphasize the fish's lack of intelligence.
For the grooming part, I had to create very stylized clumpy hair to match the cartoony art direction. The hairstyle and the moustache would later on be transformed using the animated meshes through a simple Houdini setup. This allowed us to have more control and create a more dynamic style for the character.
I had to create a contrast between the character and the environment. The manor had to be different from the residential houses to show that a special character lived in it. We designed the ship to appear like a bat's head. To create it, I assembled the manor's assets to show that Theodore made it himself without having to get out. The big well had to be impressive. It had to be ultra-visible without taking all the limelight from the city. Its distinctive appearance is due to its heptagonal shape.
Regarding the environment, the challenge was to create 3 different environments with 3 different moods. The first environment that reflects the character's attitude is inside his house. Regarding the outside, we wanted to create a stereotypical residential neighborhood with identical houses to create a contrast with Theodore's house. Finally, for Las Vampas, we wanted to create a city in the middle of nowhere on the dark side of the moon to create contrast with the Earth. Since the most important element of the city is the big wheel, I built the city around it to make sure it would be the center of attention.
The interior of the manor is very dark and dusty. The room is lit by natural sunlight. Firstly, I created the sun rays in Houdini to have an idea of the light direction. Then, we recreated them in Nuke to make them more impressive.
The lighting of the outside part of Earth and Las Vampas are in total opposition. While one has very warm and yellow tones to illustrate how hot it is on Earth, Las Vampas has a very cool atmosphere with blue, green and purple colors. The challenge was to find how I could lit up Las Vampas since it is supposed to be in absolute darkness. For this reason, I incorporated lots of neons that would also remind us of Las Vegas.
I painted the character's texture by hand in Mari. The challenge was to add details without overdoing it to preserve the cartoonish style. I added veins and wrinkles to represent the character's stage of life. The difficulty in doing this part was to find a good color palette for the skin to match the environment and keep its vampiric aspect.
I created some texturing presets in Substance Painter such as the woods and the metals. I worked procedurally at first. Then I added details by hand to give a 2D and cartoonish aspect.
I mixed multiple techniques such as procedural texturing, painting and projection to add details when necessary and to gain speed and quality for the renders. We took great care in doing the rig part and dispatched the work to gain time to be more efficient. I made the body part with an auto-rig system and added the missing detail, such as the breathes or stress and squash, that we needed for the style of animation we chose.
I was responsible for the facial part, which is made mainly with blend shape. As for the body, I added details to improve the facial animation.
Regarding the animation, we wanted to make a hybrid style between cartoon and semi-realistic type. So we took our inspiration from movies such as Bad Guys, Puss in Boots and Turning Red. The cartoon style emphasized all the dynamic moments and the gag in our movie. We had semi-realistic animation for all the emotional shots and close-up in which we need more details for the character expression.
We began to film ourselves to understand our character's body language. But we soon realized that the timing and the gesture wasn't cartoony enough. So we made several 2D references and created iterations to find the funniest action. Using 2D helped us to find appealing poses and to avoid wasting time trying in 3D.
Our character is overweight with small legs and appears physically to have no neck. At first, it may seem problematic, but we used this to our advantage. We amplified all the movements with overlaps and overshoots to make his body look amusing. For example, in some shots, We use the character's belly and backside to add a humorous and light-hearted touch to our film.
For this project, I used Harmony and After Effects. For the foam, making the burst malfunctions was really interesting. It needed to have a wacky rhythm, and the motion contrasts along with the fluid density. My favorite asset is the sun. I wanted organic, slow, and non-linear shapes for what was happening in the sun. So I designed a sphere with a very sharp two-tone texture of red and yellow, and used its evolution and offset to have an animated roof. Then I redefined the shapes and added on top of it a 2D animated layer so that it looks like a big stylized sun.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you enjoy Heatwave.